Hello, this is Sheila with Stamping Wishes, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And we're here today to make this card. I did a little bit of a technique on it, which is mixing our new shimmery white frosted paint with it, and I used a re-inker, and that's how I stamped my lettering here, as well as inside, and then all of the sponging that I did. So I'm hoping that you can see some of the shimmer that this card is putting off. It's just gorgeous. So let's go ahead and get started with the products that we used. Today I'm using for the inside to keep the circular theme of the front of the Santa Claus here. And we're using that one. And then we're using this Santa Claus. And on my first one I used the Sugar and Spice Make Christmas Nice. This time I'm going to use May the Season Be the Sweetest Ever. And then on our dies, we used for the large, and if you notice on this one here, move this over so you can see it, I used the large. I wanted a little bit more of the red showing behind him, and so I went a little smaller with him on the circular, which is on the stitch ones. Let me show you here. I went to the second one down, okay, and then for the outside, with the real red, I used the largest of the scallops on the layering. And then for these two strips, I used the All the Presents Thinlit dies. I used these two pieces, and I just love the fact that when they did these dies that they gave you equal numbers so that you don't have to keep running through. You can run through several of them at a time. And plus, for depending on how you use the design in your card, it will allow you to have certain items uniformly done at the same time when you're cutting. So let's go ahead and get started with our measurements. We are using real red, which is 5.5 by 8.5. Let's move this over. I've already got some stamping dimensions under there. That's why it's sticking a little bit. But we're going to score it at 4 1/4. Let's line it up real well here. Okay, and remember, whenever you're scoring, you want to fold away from the score line, and then we'll burnish it just to make sure we get a good crease. Our next piece, which is the shaded spruce, and I will tell you, I use scraps on all of this card, with the exception of the this piece of real red. I keep my scraps in file folders, and so sometimes I have larger scraps. And I thought, okay, let's see if I have enough pieces to make this another one of these cards, and sure enough, I did. So I feel kind of, whenever I can use my scraps up like that, and when you think about what the cost is, because you are using scraps, it's pretty nice card making. Okay, let's go ahead and place this on the front. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our two strips, which I went ahead and cut beforehand, and again, in sake of saving time. And I wanted to show you, I like to save out of these the little pieces that come out, because this blended with, and I know I'll be using it with some of my shimmery paper, but this, along with some of the glitters, would make a great shaker card. And so I like to try and save anytime I get unusual shapes like that and they're small, and place them in one of my empty containers. So that's just a little hint for today. And so we're going to be since I was out of my adhesive sheets, which is probably what I would have used had I had them here for the back of that, just to make it simple, I'm going to do a trick that Dawn had shown us, by Dawn Griffith, by taking and using your silicone sheet, and then keep a little sponge that is just strictly for your glues, and come back here and dab your glues on. And then you won't get it all over. So we'll move this on over here. And it works out real well. So let's go ahead and line this one up. I'm going to leave about 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit more on each side. And I want to even it out where it comes off the ends, and I'll trim it up to match the edge of the card there. Okay, so let's turn this around here. Okay, and glue this part. Okay, so let's go ahead and place our, let's see, let's go ahead and do our strip next. We're going to try the technique and move our glue pieces out of the way here and make sure our surface is clean. Bring in, I've got this little ink, painter's inkwell that I use for doing these type of techniques. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put a drop in, hopefully just a drop. There we go. And then this is the shaded spruce. We'll mix some of the red in a little bit because we're doing this. I don't want to get ahead of the game and have the red start drying out on me. I don't think it would, but we won't take any chances. And then the drop of your re-inker. And then you just take a toothpick or anything you have that you can mix it with. The end of a paintbrush works as well too. Doesn't that come out of, I don't know if you can see the color. It's just gorgeous. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our sponge dauber. This is another thing I thought, oh, isn't that pretty? And I don't want a lot of the green on there. I just want an accent of it. So I'm going to sponge off a little before I start bringing it to the paper. And the same thing here. And again. And again. And then I want to bring just a bit on the edges by swiping it and just giving it that flicking motion. Taking your excess ink off of your sponge dauber. Okay, let's go ahead and get our Stamparatus out. Make sure this cleans real well. Since we've got two different stamps that we're using for our Stamparatus, I'm going to go ahead and stamp this one first, which is one of our clear stamps, and that one we don't need the extra padding, but we will when we use the polymer, photopolymer. Okay, I'm going to double check this. I had marked this in a little while ago. I think my paper had shifted on me a little bit. And so I'm going to make sure that we've got it where we need it. And that looks good. So let's go ahead and place this down. Okay. And we'll put this one about here. All right, so this is where we're going to, I'm going to take this off for right now so that we can get a better view of what we're doing here. Okay, so here again, I'm going to take my mixed up shimmery frosted white paint and my shaded spruce re-inker. And I'm going to dab on the color. Now keep in mind, do not press. I'm barely touching, just making sure that I'm covering the lettering without squishing in between the lettering, because if you squish in between the lettering, you're going to get a smeared effect when you come down to do it. Yeah, that looks well covered. So let's go ahead and come down and hold even pressure for the 10 seconds. Make sure that you're transferring your ink onto the paper. Beautiful. All right, so while we've got this out, let's go ahead and do the inside of our card as well, and that way it can be drying. So let's set this off to the side. And we're going to bring in another piece of shimmery white paper, and it measures 4 by 5 1/4. And so we're going to line this up and see if it stayed, if my paper, oops, got to get our piece of foam underneath there since we'll be using that one. And this is the one we're going to experiment with and see if it works. I'm not sure. We're going to try it with the red, doing a two-tone color. I'm hoping that it works. So let's kind of set things off to the side so that they're not in the way. And go ahead and mix us. Well, I'm determined on this, I think, to possibly break my, I'm going to move this off so we're just don't have so many things in our way while we're filming. Let's bring this to the side over here and make sure that still measures where we want. It looks like this one shifted a little bit too. It must have been when I pulled the mat out, I shifted the paper somewhat, so, but that's okay. It's real easy to reline it right back up again. Okay, so we're going to mix our red too. Mix it down here. Again, it's just a drop of the Shimmery Frost White paint, and that's found in your new holiday catalog, so be sure and get you some. Looks like should have had my paintbrush here handy, because it wanted to go down the side of it. Okay, there we go. There we got enough. Ooh, that's a gorgeous red, isn't it? Beautiful. So let's hope everything works. I'm going to wipe my hands off real quick here. I got a little bit more ink than I expected on them. I want to be sure I'm not going to transfer anything over to our white. Okay, so let's go ahead and we will bring this in where that I can see what we're doing. Let's take a stamp pad up underneath it. And we're going to do the Merry Christmas. And again, I'm doing this without trying it first off camera, so if it doesn't work, you know what they say, we can flip it over and try it again. Okay, so I think we've got enough red on there, so let's go ahead and put that one to the side and bring a little bit of the green on there. Okay, keep your fingers crossed. Here we go. Let's see if it works. Okay, I'm going to put extra pressure on this. I noticed the first time I used this, I don't know if my mat wasn't in real well, but I got like pressure in certain areas and not in others. Again, we can, because we are using the Stamparatus, we can re-ink if we need to, but it's always fun when you get it right the first time. So let's see if we've got it. Now we need to re-ink a little bit more on that side there. And that would be here. Go ahead and do that. And maybe a little bit more of the red on the Mary right at the top here. Okay. I do notice that one of the ones I did, if I go to press down too hard on it, you know, putting a lot of weight, it smashes the stamp underneath, and then it gives you kind of a shadow, which it looked attractive and everything, but if you're not looking for that look, then you might want to be just do an even pressure instead of what I was doing, and I was putting quite a bit of my weight pressure onto it. No, we still need a little bit more on that wishing. So let's go, and it is probably because mine is starting to dry out just a little bit there. So let's try it one more time right there. Third time's a charm, so let's hope we get it there. If not, we'll mix up a little bit more of the, no, I think this will work. All right, so let's go ahead and take this off, and I do like using the mixture of the red and the green. And I'm going to mix up just a little bit more of this to do our shading around. So let's go ahead and bring us a drop of this, of our re-inker and shaded spruce. Shake this up real good. And let's put us a drop of course, now that it's doing what it's doing, usually this just drops right out for me. So there we go. And I'll have to clean my lid off real good afterwards. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. And since I picked up that red, I probably do have red all over, so we'll do that. And we're going to sponge like we did our other one. We'll sponge a little bit around the edges there. And again, I just want a little bit of the ink around the edges. There we go. Okay, so let's set that aside to dry for a little bit as well. And let's finish up our front of our card. Okay, so let's go ahead and adhere this front to the front of the card. Make sure we have it in the right direction before we put this on. And you're hearing this from somebody who has put it on upside down before, so that's why I'm reminding everyone where we want it. Okay, gorgeous. Okay, let's add, and I went ahead and put about 5 dimensions on the back side of this, dimensionals. And so let's go ahead and put him, let's say right about here, I think would be good. Perfect. Beautiful. Lovely. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the inside of the card. Open it up. And we will go ahead and adhere this one as well. Now this, the reason for this design that I came up with was from a card sketch that Dawn Griffith gives her glitter queens each week. And this was our card sketch for this week. And I'm sure you'll see it come out on her blog, but this was my version of that particular sketch. Okay. And we have a card. So isn't that just cute? Anybody would love to receive that. All right. Well, thank you for stopping in today, and God bless you, and happy stamping.